Hello Flosstube, my name's Kathy, and this is my first YouTube video ever, so I've been inspired by Katie, the stash queen, to throw caution to the wind and film a video. So, a little bit about me. My name's Kathy. I'm born and raised in Michigan. I'm in the Metro Detroit area. I work as an engineer. I have a little boy who's 5. And I would consider myself multi-craft. My 3 main crafts are knitting, scrapbooking, and cross-stitching. Lately, the cross-stitching bug has bit me, and I've been cross-stitching more than I've been doing scrapbooking or knitting. Lately, my knitting mojo is 0. This week alone, I started 3 projects, and none of them held my interest at all. Not saying that it won't come back up. With any of my crafts, it kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm really excited about it, sometimes not. I also love to read romance novels. I'm an avid Nora Roberts, Jane Ann Krantz, Catherine Coulter, Stephanie Lawrence. I inhale books like there's no tomorrow. So I pretty much when a new book comes out by these authors, I'll probably start reading it unless I know I'm going on vacation, in which case I'll try to hold off for the plane ride or the car ride. So usually if it comes out on Tuesday, I'm pretty much done reading it by the end of the week or the following week of that. So that's pretty much me. So where I learned how to cross stitch. So I learned to cross stitch back in the late 80s. I had a teacher in middle school named Mrs. Anderson that I would hang out a lot my 7th and 8th grade years. So she was the home ec teacher. She was also the French teacher and the English teacher. English. It's been a while since middle school. So she basically taught me the basics because I didn't take home ec. None of the crafting stuff. In middle school and high school, I didn't take any of the home ec classes. Didn't take the sewing, didn't take none of that. It was basically math and science. So I work as an engineer in the Metro Detroit area. I work for a tier 1 supplier to the automotive industry. Pretty much about that. I love my job. Very enthusiastic my job. So I won't probably talk about my job much on any future videos, other than the fact that I might mention that I knit. So if I'm going on a test trip, I will knit. I actually pack knitting and cross stitch whenever I go on test trips, especially overnight test trips. So that's usually half my luggage. Anyway, so I learned back in the late 80s, I would say, actually not early 80s, I would say not late 80s, scratch that, early 90s, probably like 91, 92, that's probably when I learned to cross stitch. So it lay dormant for a little while, and then I picked it back up again probably in 2003, 2004. It was a Golden Gate Avenue. It's this beautiful pattern with 3 Victorian houses. Love it. Worked on it a whole bunch when I moved out of my mom's house and into an apartment. So that was what I was working on. Didn't finish it. Tried to start it up again. It frustrated me. But anyway, my latest cross-stitching, which I basically picked back up in 2014. Probably 2013, because I was watching Karen from Around the Twist, which is a knitting podcast, and she was talking, she had picked it back up again. She was doing this, so she talked about Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, which basically Amanda and Ashley are phenomenal designers. They design super cute stuff. You'll see later in my WIPS that I have a bunch of their stuff started and probably a bunch in queue. So she started this segment on her knitting podcast, talked about pokey things, and that got me started because interested, and I picked up the pattern again. On the bright side, I've also enabled somebody else because one of my sweet friends, I am an engineer, so I've been actually very active in the Society of Women Engineers probably for the last 10 years. Oh no. Is that right? 10 years? 10 plus years. Probably close to, actually, take that back. Been very active in the Society of Women Engineers for about 20 years. So, how did I get on this tangent? I don't know. I like to ramble. And I say way too many ums. You'll be known as that person that goes, But that's beside the point. one of my sweet friends, I actually, since she's seen me for multiple years, post, oh, we have a surprise guest. So I have a cat named Faraday. Bring on the Faraday jokes. I am an engineer. Of course, you're not seeing him because he is showing his butt. So hold on, turn around. Let me see if I can do this gracefully. Faraday, do you want to say hi? There is Faraday. We have a kitty appearance. So aside from my son Oliver, I also have a cat named Faraday, which I guess he's going to stay in the picture for a little bit because he wants attention. Usually what happens once we get home from work, he wants his wet food and then he chills. So, bring on the jokes. And I've had Faraday for about, it will be 10 years this year because of my 11th wedding anniversary. So I was just, oh yes, so I kind of enabled my, so I've been posting Facebook and Instagram pictures of my progress of my cross stitch for several years. So it actually enabled one of my sweet friends to buy the pattern for this year's pumpkin passport and stitch along with me. Oh look, there's a much better picture of Faraday. Oh, and he's purring. Anyway, so I have noticed that I've been watching Flosstube for the last, I'm gonna say the last 2 months, maybe. So just like knitting podcasts, it's very addicting and it's very enable friendly. The podcast should be free advertisement. Here, take my money. Because when I watch a lot of knitting podcasts, I buy a lot of yarn. When I watch a lot of Flosstube, I buy a lot of patterns. So, needless to say, my WIPS have increased lately. So here are the WIPS that I'm currently working on. Hopefully you can see it around Faraday, who has decided that he likes attention, so I guess he might be my co-host for the rest of my videos, depending on how he says. So, the first project that I'm going to show is one that it's being it's being stitched on the suggested fabric that the ladies from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery suggested. So it's on Picture This Plus. It is their Christmas Gingerbread Lane, Christmas on Gingerbread Lane. Hold up, this is where I've been working on it. Hasn't gotten a lot of love. I'm gonna adjust the cam. Sorry for the hand. Okay, so we're gonna talk over the cat. So this one I've just started this year, so it hasn't gotten a lot of love. Now, I should probably preference this. I have a tendency to start a lot of things, don't necessarily always finish. I have one finished piece, which I'll probably show in a future video if there is a future video. And that's last year's A Very Merry Christmas Town. So this was, I think, 2 years ago. This would be the 2014, right? 2013 Christmas pattern, I think. I could be wrong, but it was a previous mystery stitch along, what I love about the pumpkins is that they have mystery stitch alongs all the time, where they introduce portions of the pattern and you just stitch along with them. Normally I don't keep up. There's no, I try, but it doesn't happen. But luckily with everything, I just stitch at my own pace, which I really love knit alongs and stitch alongs, because you can sign up and start with everybody, but if you don't finish on time, it's not a big deal. I love the flexibility and and I know you guys have a great body shot of Faraday right now, but we gotta work with what we gotta work with. Okay, so this next piece is my Once Upon a Time sampler from the Frosted Pumpkin. So this is the first piece I've picked up, influenced by Karen. Warning, I'm late night stitching at midnight is also not recommended when you're frogging as well, because you can accidentally put a hole into your pattern. Hello, Faraday. So, yeah. Alright, I moved Faraday. He was getting to be too much of a roadblock. More better of a door and a wall and not a window. So, love this. Every time I pick it up, I enjoy stitching on it. The only one I haven't really been loving is the Gingerbread Lane. I don't know why, maybe just not in the mood. So this I still love, even, and as you can see, I don't, I jumped around all over the place. So this one I actually frogged all of December, because I actually had December partially started, hence the hole. So I did see a blog from Cloud Factory on how to fix this, but I might just take it to one of my local needle shops to help me fix it. It's weaving in the ends, but I might just try to stitch around it to fix the hole and do that. So I'm not sure how I'm going to fix it. So lately this has been gone into timeout, even though I really want to work on it. So I have learned from this one, since I'm doing this year's stitch along, not to jump all over. So I've actually been, I found with this as well as the Very Merry Christmas Town to stick to finish one section before I move around to the others. The jumping around is not good for me. So lessons learned from this. So the other work in progress I started is Frosted Pumpkins, one of their pen pals, and this is the back to school. So this is actually meant to be a gift that I need to either finish by June or by at the latest end of August. So I'm planning on stitching 2 of these, and they're going to be given to my son's daycare. Basically, daycare has been, since I work full-time as well as my husband, and my son basically has spent his whole life when he's not at home or at grandma's, my mom's, or at his grandmother's, he's at daycare. So the director at the daycare basically has known Oliver. The 2 directors at daycare has basically known him for about his entire life. They're who I go to for mommy advice. So I want to knit one up for the director, and then I want to knit another one, or knit. It's not knit, it's stitch. Stitch another one for his phonics, music, and math teacher for enrichment. So I am Asian. The Asian child thing, yes. I'm already pushing Oliver into math and reading. It's because he likes it. So I'm not pushing him because I want him to be, the smartest student. It's what he likes. My little boy basically loves to build things. He loves to read. Basically, he's a mini me, and he's a perfect little Venn diagram of me and my husband. Both of us are engineers. We met at university, so we were both engineers, and so our child is a Venn diagram of us. Our good qualities, our bad qualities, and all the other stuff. So that's for his teachers. I know I'm going to miss them in September. I basically am used to seeing them every day or every week, multiple times. I mean, before my mom retired, Oliver was there 5 days a week, so I'd see them every single day. And come September, I don't know, it's going to be difficult not seeing them. But I also know it's time. I mean, he's 5. He'll be 5.5 when he starts school. That sort of thing. All right, next project is my Country Cottage Needleworks. This is the Gingerbread Emporium from the Santa's Village series. So I finished 2, and I've got a couple more patterns. So my plan is to knit the entire Santa's Village collection and then make it into a quilt. Now, I've always wanted to make a quilt. It's one of those bucket list things I've had since I was really little. Now, I don't know a sewing machine. My mom and my mother-in-law do. So hopefully I will be able to work on this project. My plan is that I would work on the project when I was in Wisconsin and just have it working there. So it's not going to be, it's a long-term process. I probably would do the squares, slowly do it, because it's just going to be a simple, straight-lined squares. So it's not going to be crazy. So the engineer in me with the straight lines would be happy. So, oh, yes, this needle minder is from Nifty Needle Nannies. It's a Hello Kitty. I love Hello Kitty. So you'll see. This is one of my newest acquisitions. So that was that. I'm still going through my WIPS. So next project is Satsuma Street's Pretty Little London. So I started this last year. My hope was that I was going to use this as the cover to a scrapbook album, the first page in my scrapbook album of my London trip. So me and my husband went on our first overseas trip together to London last October for my one of my roommates' wedding. So we spent a week in London, and then we went to Cambridge, and then we came back. So it was also the first time that we had traveled outside the continental United States without our son. So it was the first time I've been away from my son since he's been born. We've done like weekend trips in Traverse City, which if you're in Michigan, this is totally a Michigan thing. This is Metro Detroit. Traverse City is up here. So that was the farthest we've been away from him together. Now, I have gone on a business trip to Kansas City without my son. And at that time was not too bad because he was home with Papa, i.e. his grandmother, and my husband. But this was the first time. So I had a little bit of separation anxiety. I actually even made my husband drop him off early, and I stayed home to cry a little bit. There was a really big crying jag after he dropped off, and then I went to work, and then I was okay. So, and I know he was fine. Now the thing is, I've always had separation anxiety, so I always cry whenever I have to be separated from family members. So my son and my mom are no exception to the rule. So even when I was little and my grandma and grandpa would go to California for a couple months, I would cry when I dropped them off at the airport. I knew they were going to be fine, just like I knew my son and my mom were going to be fine while I was gone. Not a big deal. Still had the crying jag. My mom took it a different way, but we're not going to take it. Anyway, I've always had separation anxiety, so I don't know why it was any different, especially since my baby. It is an adjustment. I don't know why, but like with my son, it took me a long time. It wasn't the trust thing or anything. I think when you carry someone in your belly for 9 months and you're constantly with them, being away from them, I personally needed a slow phase out. So there was a while when it took me till probably he was almost 5, 6 months old before I even let him sleep over grandma's without me. Again, not the trust thing, it's he's always with me. I mean, going to work, actually dropping him off at my mom's the first week, it was tough because the first week I went back to work, my mom happened to be on spring break, so she was able to watch Oliver before I went to daycare. So that going back to work was rough, but I didn't cry. It wasn't hard to do. It wasn't like I went back to work and said, okay, I can't do this, and decided to work be at home full time, because I also know stay-at-home mom, not for me. Anyway, more of my WIPS. So this is last 2 years ago. So this is the 2014 Christmas sampler. So this is the Christmas Celebration by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, also knit on the fabric that they recommended, and I think I kitted it myself. Almost done, close. As you can see with most of my projects, I start it and then I don't finish it, but actually I've been trying to rotate it through. Now this is the one WIP that is probably the closest to being finished, so I probably should just get my butt in gear and finish it. So this is the Frosted Pumpkins Autumn Sampler. See how close it's being done? All I have left is a couple more leaves and then finishing this little girl, the girl in the picture. So really I should probably just buckle down, finish it, and be done with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with these once I finish it, so I've been putting them into a box, and I don't know if I'm going to frame them or what. But I like stitching them. They're fun. Alright, so next up is, I think it's Mystery Halloween Town by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitcheries. This I actually took with me on my business trip to, 2 Septembers ago I had a back-to-back work trips. So I spent 1 week on a test trip driving from Michigan to Pennsylvania doing testing. And then the week after that, I drove from Michigan to Kansas City for more testing. So I actually took this with me both trips. I actually worked on it a tiny bit. As you can see, I'm pretty much got clue 1 done. Clue 2 is done. 4 is almost done. And part 3 needs more work. So again, very close. Definitely need to finish. Love to stitch it every time I work. There's no project that I've been of these projects where I dread when I'm like, oh, they just, basically my rotation is whenever I feel like it, and then when I get bored, I switch out to something else. So this is my last WIP, and it is this year's Frosted Pumpkin Passport. So I haven't started the April, which is Switzerland, but I find, and if you look here, oops, can you see it? Oh yes, so I made my first, normally I don't make any modifications major modifications. I know in Once Upon a Time I had to swap out some colors because the blue that was called on the presentation washed out in the pattern. So I should probably show you the minor modifications. So the modifications I made, basically if you look in, this is the July, I changed this water. I changed it out to be a different color so it would pop out because the blue that's called out blends in with this fabric and it's not very good. And I think I made some modifications to some other I keep saying yarn, floss substitutions. So anyway, so my one modification is I am a Hoovian. So I actually added in a TARDIS into the project. Couldn't figure out what I want to do for Paris is I want to try to add a key or a flag in, because as much as I love reading, I really enjoyed reading two of Dan Brown's books that talks about a key, and then Catherine Coulter and J.T. Ellison has a series that's a Brit in the FBI, and both the Dan Brown book, which I think is The Lost Key, as well, there's a key element. So I want to do a key because it both takes place in Paris. So I want to put a key in, and I might just leave Amsterdam as is, because I haven't been there yet. So I've been to London twice. I haven't been to Paris. So that is this. So that's my WIPS. Oh, this video's actually gone longer than I thought. So this is take 2. I didn't like the first one. So what I've been doing, what you see in front of me, is my happy planner. I went back to planners. I was a planner girl, and then I got my phone and I went away from it. I went back to it to try to keep. The reason why I went back to it is I'm kind of using it as a memory keeper, for tracking for scrapbooking purposes and memories about what I'm doing. So this is my personal one. I have a different one for work, but I do have some work things in here, like days I have to, since I work for a tier 1 automotive supplier, but I'm also on site at the customer. So twice a month I'm scheduled to be at my home office. So I put that in here. And I do have some standing meetings, so I try to put those in there. And then I just try to record everyday life. So on the bottom here where my finger is right now, I have a patch that's it's a box that shows what I've been working on craft-wise. So in 2016, I decided that, I definitely need to craft. Like anything, I have a huge stash. So I have a scrapper room down in the basement that has tons of material, and I have, obviously, at my cross stitches, I have a decent sized stash, and then I also have a decent sized yarn stash. I have to use this stuff, so I definitely wanted to start tracking what I've been working on, and just to keep myself balanced and stressed, because my job gets fairly crazy, because I have the demands of the customer that treat me like I am. So so I'm an on-site representative for one of the OEMs, but they treat me like I'm an employee. So I tend to do I tend to act more like, unofficially, I work for 2 different companies, but they both treat me like their employee, right? So I have my official employer that I do work for, but then my customer also treats me like one of their own, so I have responsibilities there. So to better handle my stress, I've been trying to take more time for me time, and do my crafting when I can. So I'll take 15 minutes, 5 minutes during my lunch hour after I eat, and I'll stitch or I'll knit, that sort of thing. So I've been writing them down here. I've been writing down when me and my husband have date nights. Tonight we actually did. He actually went to go pick up our son, because tomorrow he has game night. So he gets together once a month with a group of guys to play board games. Totally fine with that. So it's called Ollie and Mommy Day, and we tend to do something. And now I'm rambling. So I use the planner just to keep track of what we've done, what I've been stitching on, and anything, things that I want to remember. It it is a notebook, it is a binder. I'm not going to toss it out. I think I've started throwing away some of my other planner pages, but this I probably won't throw away because I like it for the fact that it's a memory keeper. So if I did take pictures, I know, like I took pictures for Allie Edwards' Day in the Life. I'm trying to do it all digital. I have the Project Life app. I'm going to try to put it into a 6x8 and print it out and start working on that. Anyway, trying to wrap this up and keep it under 30 minutes. So I have about less than 5 minutes. So future videos. So since I am a scrapbooker and a knitter as well as cross stitch, I'm probably thinking maybe I might post other plans of, you know, how I use my planner, flip throughs of some of the pages, scrapbook pages that I've worked on, show some progress on what I've been knitting, maybe do a mini series on reorganizing and purging of my scrapbook room, because my scrapbook room is a disaster. It is a decent sized scrapbook room with tables and chairs, and I used to be a custom art consultant, so I have tons of stamps. I basically need to, what I want to do is actually use what I have and not buy any new stuff. But you know what? Watching YouTube videos when it comes to scrapbooking processes, knitting podcasts, and Flosstube, not good when you're trying not to spend money, which is okay. My hobby spending, I think it's one of those things my husband tries to tell me not to spend as much, and I'm good, and then I fall off the bandwagon. I'm good for good meaning, when I'm good, I mean I'm not spending a lot of money. Now, I should preference this. When I am spending a lot of money, I'm not hurting, you know, the family budget or anything when I'm being crazy. That being said, but it's also, I don't need it. I really need to finish a project and then move on and buy something else. So that's what I mean by being good. It's not, yeah, it's just basically using what I spend. I mean, I am an engineer, so I do make, you know, a decent amount, and it could be spent on other things, or it could be saved for other, you know, it could be used in other things. So it's not, my spending is not hurting the financials. It's just keeping myself in check, which I need to do. Anyway, so this is my first YouTube video, so if you're interested in keeping along with me in my progress, and let me know. Comments are welcome, positive and negative. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hopefully I'm going to try to do another short video a little bit later on what my plans for Mania is. As I said, enablers. So I have several projects lined up. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to edit this because I'm taking this on my phone and not sure how I'm going to insert videos or anything like that. So stay in touch. Thank you. Thanks again for watching. And if you would like to see more, please let me know. Thanks.